Already freaking 12:45. Good lord. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Chat from the Deep, our weekly live streamed post-session discussion. We talk about what just happened during D&D. This is the chat for session 29. If you've not watched that session yet, please go do that because there will be spoilers. I'm your DM, Eric, and joining me, we have Gottwald's player, Chris.
Guacamole.
And Max player, Raymond.
Hello.
Fun fact, we got so addicted to guacamole, my wife makes homemade guacamole. I buy avocados from the store, and we did it every time we made fajitas, which is like every other week. But now we discovered we both like just to snack on guacamole, and I literally buy avocados every fucking week when I go to the grocery store. And we make guacamole, homemade guacamole, with like onions and cilantro and avocado and lime every fucking week.
I meant to after.
It's good, and it's kind of good for you. Like, it's just.
I meant to text Heather like this was like 2 months ago because I tried to make guacamole at my place and I did. It was fine, but it was nothing like the guacamole that you guys have. So
Yeah.
I meant to text her to get a recipe, but I
the only bummer is obviously we won't put any like preservatives in it. So like it's amazing the first day. On the second day, it's at like 60 or 70% amazing. Like it definitely decreases in quality. And then by like the third day, you almost don't want to eat it anymore.
Right, it's almost
it deteriorates so quickly, and it's so depressing because it's so fucking good.
Yeah.
But like it goes bad so fast, and we've tried like 3 different kinds of Tupperware things. Everybody's like, "Oh, this is the one you need to really preserve your," and it just doesn't fucking work. Like I don't know. So that's like the big bummer about it. But we literally make guacamole every fucking week. Unless there's a rare time where I'll go to the store and I'm like, none of these avocados are good. And then if the weekend rolls around and we don't feel like going to the store to get more, then we won't do it. But yeah, I fucking love guacamole.
Whole guacamole and it's fine, but it's not as good as your guys' guacamole.
Yeah, I know. But on the other hand, yours probably lasts a bit longer too because they put preservatives and stuff in it.
That's true. It is 2 days old now.
So this was another big fight. I was kind of hoping you guys would do this fight, and I certainly tried to drag you over there. This dungeon is obviously gigantic, and there's a lot of things you can do, but I think as we alluded to at the beginning of this session, and something I talked about during the crafting stream this week, was we got to pick your battles. Like, you guys have limited resources.
Things you want to do? Yeah.
This is not the kind of dungeon you'll be able to long rest in, because there's just... It's active hostile forces, it's underwater, like, there's just too much going against you. And you guys are kind of starting to rile up the entire dungeon, so... That being said, I was like...
So we have to really... Yeah,
you're limited on resources. So I was like, well, the good news is the temple's kind of on the way down to where they need to go. And if I can just, like, show them the room, which as Mac was going over here, and I was like, hey, there's, like, a light glowing from here. And you start peeking your head. It's like, once they see that room, they're like, oh, shit, okay, we got to fuck around with this. We got to fuck around and find out. So I appreciate that you guys chose to interact with it. Technically, I was going to say, technically, this is all on you in terms of you guys could have just said nope and turned around and left and continued on your way. So I appreciate you wanting to do that. Was a major objective of this area, which was also the one room I heavily modified in this dungeon, because this whole module again is from Ghosts of Saltmarsh, and I inserted it into our Call from the Deep campaign, and the only thing I had to change was basically this temple room, because the original has the 3 priests are performing a ritual, but they've got a giant 2-headed shark, which is like the avatar of their god, which is their shark god, as like a big boss thing, and then they're just doing a ritual to appease it or something. But in my campaign, in Call from the Deep, the Sahuagin have been manipulated, controlled, whatever, by the Mind Flayers, and have basically renounced their shark god and taken on the Fathomless as their new god. So I was like, well, I got to reflavor this room. So I was originally just going to replace the 2-headed shark with a some kind of monster creature. I settled on Chul. I originally settled on like a super powerful version of a Chul, which is in the Monster Manual Expanded and in Call from the Deep. But I kept looking at the stat block on, it seems a little nasty. So I finally, at the very last second, downgraded it to a regular Chul. which I thought was fine, and it with the balance ended up being pretty good. And the other thing I changed is the High Priestess is actually normally in a different room, and I moved her into this room. So that kind of rebalanced things a little bit more. Also, I had the priests concentrating on the spell to keep the other thing I changed was to put the Lizard Queen in here. And make it so that basically every room you guys go to is somebody to save. And they had to, it was very much, which you picked up on, like almost like a Midnight Sun situation, where you see like people doing a ritual, they're concentrating, it's like, oh, we got to break up their concentration, which is exactly how it works. They have to make con saves, or I guess I didn't think about their movement, like the positioning, but I kind of like the way Reese was like shooting people out of the way to knock them out. So it's like, all right, maybe they have to be in the right position also.
Right. He questioned a lot of the, like, how does this ritual work with like positioning,
right?
And then vocal, like, is it a vocal?
It was all me pulling stuff out of my ass. This was a last minute thing where I was like, well, no, not last minute, but I didn't have like firm. They're not like casting a mechanical spell. They're just like doing some ritual to keep her in place and keep this whole thing happening. It's more like an environmental thing. But yeah, I realized quickly, I was like, oh shit. So yeah, I guess the movement thing does bother it. But if they can get back in it and restart it, then they'll maintain the whole deal. But it took up their action. But interestingly, they still had a bonus action, which means they could still use all their spiritual weapons, which I for sure used. But when concentration is broken,
scary in practice, but I mean, in idea, but they didn't end up doing the whole lot of damage.
No,
like 15 damage total, I think, at the end of by the end of the fight.
The weapons.
Yeah.
Spiritual
weapons.
Yeah, it's another attack. I mean, it just adds the action economy for me, and it's not a concentration spell. It's honestly great for the DM because it's just like adding another enemy,
right?
That constantly just attacks with whatever its stats are. So, but they can also be attacked. But yeah, at one point I was like, "Holy shit!" The first guy went down. Holy, that's crazy. I loved Sopra's.
I don't know how he did it because I mean, the fight was very engaging. I was like very into it, like. But then when we killed the first guy, I was like, wait, how long has it been? We barely done any damage.
That's we were like an hour into this fight before we like. Yeah, you guys were doing damage. The Chul has 100 hit points.
Yeah.
Each of these priests has an average of 30 hit points.
Mm-hmm.
And then the High Priestess had 90 hit points, but I fudged her hit points at the end and I think knocked like 20 hit points off. Okay. Just because, like, all right, like at that point where you guys were all like converging on it, and I was like, all right, she needs to go down now.
Yeah.
But that was a lot of hit points. And then one time she used her mass, which I don't want to use too often because it's a pain in the ass when enemies heal. But I like the fact that she could do a healing word and actually like heal a bunch of people, and you're like, oh no.
Oh.
And the eye technically absorbed some hits too. The fucking the confusing. Yeah. So there was a lot going on. These guys had a lot of spells, but I want to try to keep it simple. So I was just kind of firing off some guiding bolts, which actually didn't hit too often. Spiritual weapons was a thing. They could have all cast Hold Person and Mass Healing Word. Really? That seemed like a pain in the butt.
But I mean, I don't know if this was like your doing that they had to use their action to concentrate on the ritual.
Oops. Yes, when the ritual was still going on, they were using their action to concentrate. Right, so they didn't do anything in the first round or two. They were only doing spiritual weapon because it was a bonus action. But you guys broke the concentration pretty quickly, so I had it be, I think it was the end of the round whenever it got broken, that the Lizard Queen popped out, and then once that happened, then they're no longer doing the ritual. So,
but for a lot of that, they were in the silence.
They were in the silence, correct? So they couldn't do that. Did actually shut them down.
I think at the very end, a couple of them got out of the silence and probably could have held Purse or something. But
well, they got out decently, like within a round or two. I had one of them crawl out of there, and then they were casting guiding bolts. Like there was quite a few guiding bolts being fired off.
That's right.
Once you guys finally made it into melee range, I kind of switched it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of back and forth. It was just a slugfest. I'm glad you said you enjoyed it because it's tough with these very long, protracted fights to make sure people are engaged. I feel like hopefully there's enough different things going on, and I always like fights where there's some kind of extra objective or thing going on. In this case, it was being able to save somebody in the middle of a fight and have them emerge. And
I think that was it for like the first half of the fight. It was because it was like I don't know, 2 or 3 different objectives that we had. There was the eye back there that we knew we had to take out. We had to save that lizard person. There was the big crab monster Chul.
Mm-hmm.
So it did feel like there were like different objectives you could try to tackle.
Man, I was hitting with the pinchers left and right, which was fun, but I never got to hit with the tentacles.
What does that do?
They
Yeah, I don't even.
poison and paralyze you. It's real nasty.
Then
Paralyze is so bad. That's one where you can't do anything.
Toro's con save.
And you
was
get like
just
auto crit.
nope.
Yes, he just kept making the con saves. I forget, you think like, oh, I'm definitely gonna hit the Warlock with this one, but he's like, oh no, I forget. You're a fucking part fighter. He's got 21 AC and like a +7 to his con saves, so he's just as much of a frontline.
The first like 6 or 7 sessions, it was like a problem for him. He's like, I'm going down too much. Like I gotta.
Yeah, and he shored up that weakness.
Yeah, it's like now he's like unkillable.
You guys basically have like 3 front lines.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing he's got almost as many hit points as fucking Mac does. Now that I think about it, he's got 60 hit points. Mac's at 68.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he is just as even though he's like grabbing you and he's grabbing you and Toril at the same time with the pincher attacks. Like he's taking it just as much as you are. The Triton was basically useless, just attacking. Borges actually did a lot of great damage, though, which was really funny.
Doing work, yeah.
Took out 2 of the priests.
Yeah. Borges the kill stealer.
The kill stealer. I like that he earned his fucking stripes.
Yeah.
You guys have been picking up so many. The weird balancing thing is, although you guys are losing a lot of your spell slots and hit points and stuff, you're gaining allies constantly.
Now, are you not doing that intentionally? Because at some point, I think I realized I was like, oh, okay, this is how he's balancing this, because we got nothing in the tank.
Yeah,
but we are surrounded by NPCs that could help.
Yeah, like you're literally gaining helpers each time. And this one is particularly strong, as you've seen. She's got spells. Even though she was unarmed, she was basically just doing fine, using all of her spells and stuff. Obviously, she knows the layout, so this was definitely a critical NPC to rescue.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big ass dungeon, and especially I think this week after we had done last week's session, which ended up also being a very long, protracted fight. I was staring down, going, okay, we need to start looking at like the Cliff's Notes version of this dungeon. And if we're doing that, then this
dungeon,
is
man. Like,
it's so big.
Big ass place.
Yeah, these old school dungeon designs are crazy. What pact did Toril take? Toril took the
genie one.
The genie pact? Yeah. Which I don't
think it's called genie. It's like talisman or something.
Talisman, yeah. I don't think he's ever used.
He used it when he first got it. I think he's forgotten since then.
Yeah. I don't think he ever cast a spell in this fight.
Silence is a spell.
Oh, he did cast silence. You're right. Yeah, he did cast silence. Sorry. The one spell he's concentrating on. Yeah. He did cast silence. Yeah, no, mostly he used, which I love that he uses his arm that I gave him. It's always fun for, just like Mac using the Scimitar of Speed. It's always fun to see a PC using their... Actually, everybody used their stuff. You use your Anchor Axe, and Sabra used her fucking book, so... Really nice showcase. Everybody used their stuff this week. That always pleases the DM. The worst thing is when you give somebody an item that you think they're going to like, and then they just completely forget about it. And the best thing is when you give them some random thing, and they're like, this is my new fucking thing.
This is my whole strategy now.
Yeah, but like Sabra do with the gust of wind, everybody's like shooting forward, and Toral's like, nope, I'm gonna accept the win. I'm gonna go forth. I love that. I commented on the fact, like, your initial strategy was like, all right, we're gonna bring everybody to us, and then after that it was like, nope, we're gonna go all the way into them. The strategy
part of that is unfortunately the way that 5e works with initiative. Like there was like, we could have all held actions, I suppose, but that would have been kind of awkward for us to all be like, okay, we're all going to hold an action until they get down here. And then a whole turn goes by and they don't get down here because they're 120 feet away.
Right.
So it just kind of become like us getting impatient because we didn't want to wait 2 whole turns for them to make their way across the room.
And the distance did matter here. It's funny, it usually doesn't, but suddenly having to look up all these like 60-foot or 90-foot spells. At one point I had to check. She had a 120-foot radiant bolt. I had to check to make sure I could hit somebody on the other side of the room.
Right.
So that's pretty rare where you actually get like a gigantic room like this and have just have all those measurement rules come into play. So I enjoyed the fight. I definitely went into it looking like, all right, this is gonna be probably like the marquee major battle here. And if we're only gonna do one of those, then this would be the site to do that. Although you guys technically have a whole nother level to go through, and we'll see how that ends up panning out.
Big battles there are. Down
More
there,
people to
up there.
rescue.
Yeah. We know at least what we got. Most of the people we were intended to rescue. I think we've got them now.
Yeah.
But
Except for
yeah. That's
well,
hilarious.
technically, you guys were here because Neverwinter people were stolen too, and you haven't seen any of those. But everybody said,
right.
hey, anybody
Yeah,
that doesn't breathe underwater is kept on that top level. And then the queen figured out that they must have given her some kind of magic device that lets her breathe underwater, which was
okay.
my way of getting out of this tricky situation. Because yeah, you guys even mentioned the fact like, wait a minute, lizard folk can't breathe underwater. I was like, yep, I thought of that.
Yeah.
I did think of that. Yeah, I think this is like the 6th session already we've had technically in this quest arc. Not the 6th we've had in the dungeon. We spent the first 2 sessions of this quest arc just getting down here, doing like the swamp battles with the lizard folk, trying to get in here. But I think this might be the 3rd or 4th one just in this dungeon. And we're only like right now literally in the middle of it in terms of physical location. So I'm very conscious about the pacing and the resources and all that. And the other thing is it should put a zip in y'all's butt about like, oh, we need to be hauling ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to Sylvan's point, like, I don't remember how a lot of us got water breathing, but like whatever that time limit is probably close to running out by now. I don't know if it's. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that. I mean, you guys can always duck inside of Savra's cube, but
I guess that's true. But that's like minutes, though, right? Like holding your breath.
Yeah, I don't know what everybody's situation is for.
I think we used some potions. Somebody used a spell scroll. I think. I don't remember. I mean, a lot of us could breathe.
Yeah.
I think I drink a potion, but I think that probably lasts an hour. So I probably drink another one or something.
Yeah, you'll probably be coming up with that pretty soon. I might have to say something. On the other hand, you guys might be just close to getting to the surface if you can get down there quickly.
Might be a good reason to get there faster.
That's true.
Exactly. Your
the
little error meter is like starting to blink red. Like, oh shit. Yeah. We did do a short rest, but of course, per our house rules, our short rest only lasts 5 minutes. So no issue there.
Running out of potions.
Yeah, and it's weird. This dungeon and the other one that used the lizard folk, which I only pulled story stuff from and characters, are both giant dungeons that are not meant to be explored, which is bizarre to me.
Always weird. Yeah, like why make them that big then?
Yeah, that big and that detailed, but the players are not meant to be actually dungeon crawling. They're just kind of. In this one, the original one is they're just reconnaissance and they're just going.
I feel like maybe that's almost like an old school design in the sense that like there wasn't as much content and you could rerun this dungeon multiple times. Like, oh, this time we're gonna go along the left side. We didn't go over there. You know, like if they want to do it again, because I can't see any other reason why you'd have a dungeon where you're not expected to experience the the whole thing.
Yeah, I forget. I had an over-under on how many rooms y'all would end up exploring in this whole quest arc. And I forget what I set the over-under at, but people were guessing the under for the most part. And it may be that. I think we've only hit up like maybe half a dozen rooms in terms of actually popping in and like interacting with that room. And this is like a, gosh, probably 60 room dungeon or something.
That's real crazy.
It is real crazy.
But as we discovered, some rooms are just full of Sawagans. So like,
yes, like they're bad news. Yeah, you would not want to interact with that. It's totally bad. I agree. Like the one that Mac like stepped in and I just read the description. It's like, yeah, there's like 20 dudes in here, and you're like, okay, fuck that room.
No point. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's like at least half the rooms are just like it's a room full of bad guys. Like, nope.
Nope, no, thank you.
As long as you're doing some kind of reconnaissance,
yeah,
you won't get fucked up. Anything else? I feel like it's been kind of a glacial pace, but on the other hand, we've just had big fights, so at least this one was a
Yeah.
better, more interesting fight than the last one.
Yeah. Oh, you mean last week's?
Last week's fight, yeah, you can. That one just, I should have rebalanced last week's fight. It was, I don't want to rehash it. Me and Ray talked about it for a while, but the balance of this dungeon was also overtuned, I think, for. It's like the players aren't meant to fight the battles. Like, yeah, but if they get into a fight with any of them, they shouldn't be decimated by like one random barracks fight.
Right.
Terrifying. All right, I think that will do it for this week's Chat from the Deep. I'm running out of gas. It's been late. Thank you to Chris and Raymond. Thank you to the wonderful fans for watching, and we will see you all next week.
Not me though. I won't be here.
Damn it.